Hello my loves, how are you? So this is a video I actually promised to do a long time ago, but we're doing it today. So these are my top 5 decks for shadow work. There are also 2 others I'm going to talk about. One of those is like an interchangeable one, and one is one that I don't have yet but I want to get, and I've worked with the book of it. So let's just dive into it. These aren't... Now let's do them in an order. Okay, so I would say that this one, which is the Lantern Oracle, is the one I would recommend to start out with, especially if you're new to shadow work, because this is... I would categorize this as a self-love deck that has grit, okay? So it is transformative, it is healing, it tells you what you need to hear, not just what you want to hear. It's not too light and fluffy, but it's not as hard-hitting as some of the other decks I'm going to show you. It's a really good one to start out with. Just note that the red edges I have done myself. It doesn't come like this. But let me show you some of the cards. So this is a really good one to work with. I think it's also really good for ancestral healing, healing the bloodline, any kind of transformation work really. So that is that one. It actually says on the front, illuminate the shadows, empower your path. And that was the Lantern Oracle. And it comes with a guidebook, of course. So that is a beautiful one that's just a bit more gentler, but still gets the job done. So then I would go to, and these are the interchangeable ones, both by Lucy Cavendish, Oracle of the Shapeshifters, and the Alice Wonderland Oracle. I had another one of hers, I think it was called Shadows and Light or something like that. I've just sold it. I love the artwork of these, and I think it's more of a personal thing as to which of the 3 would work best for you. Let me show you a couple of my favorites from each of these decks. So this is the Alice in Wonderland one. This is a bit more thought-provoking. And it's got good messages like this: no need to fear. Never jam today, promises that never come to be, empty words, not living in the now. I personally hate rabbits with red eyes. Beautiful cards. This is a really good one. Forget who you are. Conditioning falls away, memory no longer defines you. Conditioning is a big part, a huge part of shadow work. You know, it's the conditioning of the subconscious. The subconscious is the shadow. And I think we have a lot more conditioning than we realize once you really start unpacking it. If that's something that you want to look more into, I have a deconditioning workbook that you can check out on my website. You can view some of the pages for free. It's really powerful. Good reminders like this. We're all mad here. This is a really good one. Do not drink poison. Do not do things you know are bad for you. But what this allows for, if you want to go there, is to then think about and journal on and question, why am I addicted to things that feel bad? Okay, it's to do with because they are familiar, because of our limiting beliefs about what we think we can have and what we think we deserve. Okay, that again, it's all conditioning. Sometimes we're addicted to an emotion. The brain does not like change, right? And again, I go more into this in the workbook, but essentially, because of our reptilian part of our brain, which is the unevolved part from when we were cave people, which affects us a lot, okay? Being cast out from the tribe, from society, was life-threatening back then. So now we see change, thinking differently to the pack, doing things differently, living differently, as bad, dangerous, right? But you evolve your brain, you up-level your thinking when you become aware of this and you start working with it, okay? It's about working with the shadow, not trying to erase it. So this is a really good oracle. I don't reach for it as much as I used to be completely honest with you. I think these two decks are interchangeable, but I would say I prefer the Oracle of the Shapeshifters slightly more, so it has the full moon on the back. Let me show you some of the cards. There's a couple really powerful ones in here. But I would say someone has to be ready for this deck. However, if this deck has found you, if it's, you know, continually showing up in your world, then that is a big sign that you need to get this deck, right? Where was I going with this? Oh, there's a couple cards in here, which I will tell you when we get to them, that I think are quite confronting. And that is a hard thing with when you're reading professionally for other people. Sometimes people aren't ready to hear it, but to read with integrity and to respect the messages, the guidance that comes through, you have to say what messages are there, right? Okay, like this one's a really powerful one. Yeah, so I think this one is slightly better for shadow work. This is one of those cards that can be quite confronting, or people can have resistance to accepting that reality of victimhood, right? That's quite clever, actually. I hadn't twigged to that with Red Riding Hood, victimhood. That is very clever. But, you know, we can only reclaim our power when we connect to the identity of I am not a victim. I'm a survivor, right? It doesn't mean the traumatic things that happened to you didn't happen to you. We're not saying that your pain is invalid or it didn't happen, because you can only heal when you acknowledge that something happened. But it's about what your identity is. You must choose. Perfect timing for that card to come up, right? I mean, this is an interesting one with Kitsune, I think that's how you say it. I will show you who to trust. That is what your shadow does if you pay attention to it, if you utilize it. But first you've got to learn to really differentiate and work through the fears so that it's not thinking everything is a threat. So this is a really good deck. We again have a card that has the red eyes in it. That's quite interesting, really. I Am Reborn. Beautiful cards. So then I just want to mention two tarot decks. Okay, so I have the This Might Hurt tarot deck, which I just love the energy of this deck. It's very realistic, the imagery, it's down to earth, it's got this kind of gritty feeling to it, rebellious, which I love. The other tarot deck I would recommend is, let me double check what it's called. I have the book of this, it was a Kickstarter one, because that is all I could afford at the time. And I found the book to be really, really good. Emerging from Darkness Tarot by Robin L. Cole. Now, apparently this deck is now available through Make Playing Cards. I've had very mixed experiences with card decks from there, so I'm not sure. I think I will get it, but hopefully the quality is good. But let me show you some of these cards. The Hierophant. But to be completely honest with you, you can use any tarot deck to do shadow work with. But there are some that the imagery will just speak to you more. Like this Ten of Swords is really good. So I have the black holographic edging. I think it comes in like a pearlescent finish as well on the edges. Okay, so now we are getting into the really good stuff. And I love these two decks for different reasons. So we have Dark Mirror, and then we'll get to my absolute favorite. Now this one I do find is best used with the guidebook. So it is a 32 card deck. It says on the back, a spiritual mirror for those who are not yet shining in the light but are still surrounded by darkness. And the messages in here, they're very poetic and they're very potent. Again, it's a deck you need to be ready for. That is the back of them. Let me show you some of the cards. The child I was meant to be. You can definitely read with this just purely intuitively. But it's really thought-provoking. Some of the imagery is quite triggering. I mean, parasite, that's a very strong word. It triggers a lot of imagery. Fated to suffer. So this is a good one for really getting into your subconscious beliefs. So this one is really good, but this is very different from the Lantern Oracle that I showed you in the beginning, where that had a lot of gentleness and love, whereas this one, it just hits deep to the spot. But it's very transformative. It's a very good deck. And then we have the dark edition of the Truth deck. I believe these are only available through the creator's website. If you Google Truth decks dark edition, it should come up. I forget what these type of images are called. Someone please tell me. But they are supposed to, you know, trigger different things for different people. Kind of like ink splotches, or they have these tests that they do these in. So it's a good way of getting past that barrier to the subconscious and seeing what you actually think about things. And this is a deck that really gets to the root of stuff. It's very good. I found using this deck in conjunction with a tarot deck. Emerging from Darkness tarot guidebook thing. I'm not sure if you can still get it online, but doing the work that is in that book, which is a shadow work book, and it's a book, it's not just a short guidebook. Using the two together in spreads was really helpful. It clarified a lot of things. So that gives you a good idea of this deck. So whether you want to use all of them or just one deck, if you have other ones that you would have on this list, I'm super interested. And if you have the Emerging from Darkness Tarot, please let me know what you think of it. The imagery looks really good to me, so I might have to invest in that one. But yeah, these are sort of the top ones that I would use that I do use for shadow work. Again, because it's all about intention and you interpreting the messages, you can use any deck, especially with tarot. Oracle, it's a little bit harder because the cards can only say what the cards can say, right? But I hope you found that helpful. If you want like a top 5 of other kind of uses for tarot, I guess you'd call it. Like if you want some self-love ones, or just let me know. I've already done beginner tarot decks and I've done my top 5 oracle decks. I'll try to link them if I remember. But yeah, I hope you guys found that helpful. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure to like and subscribe to join the tribe if you haven't already. We would love to have you. Take care, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.